Oh, help if I did that. Welcome everyone to the September 2nd, 2025 council meeting. As a reminder, this meeting is live streamed and recorded and available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound website at www.parrysound.ca. Prior to the open session, council met for a brief meeting. It was moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that pursuant to section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended. Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a special meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, termination of a contract, and Glen and Victoria project easement update. And K, position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. An update on the meeting with the provincial facilitator. And that meeting was done. I'd like to acknowledge at this time we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. Now, before we get into the formal part of the meeting, we have someone here tonight that has done some amazing, obviously some very amazing training to get where she is. So, so Stephanie Weeks, if you could come forward, okay? I'm going to come around because thank you. You have to move with me. We gotta come in with. Got to goes with the owl. So maybe over here. There we go. Okay. All right. So keep those that way. Only you were in the picture. It's okay. It'll work itself out. There we go. Automatic. There. That almost got a plot. So anyway, it's my pleasure on behalf of the Congress. Definitely bronze medal, single world, triple under 2025 World Championship in Kawasaki. So this is not the first time that Stephanie's brought home a medal. She also won bronze at the World Jump Rope Championship in Colorado in 2023. Now I learned that single rope triple unders means the rope must pass under your feet 3 times for every single jump. That's pretty amazing. So this must be an awful amount of wrist speed and demand excellent technique in terms of body posture and jump height. So we have a certificate here for you, but we want you to know that Parry Sound is very proud of your accomplishments and wish you all the best in future endeavors. So let me get it.
Yeah, it's just my medal.
Watch.
Very
nice, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, this is.
I may want to see it over there.
Congratulations. You bring your rope. Did you warn some of us maybe not to try it?
Good
Supervision.
It's good cardio, but when you're extending your cardio now, it's anyway, congratulations to you on your tremendous accomplishment on this, whatever. Again, we're very proud of you. So
thank
you. It'll be for you.
Keep sending them out steady.
Okay.
Thank you.
So anyway, it is really great when somebody comes from the town or the area, that sort of thing, and does it really super well. And is able to come back and share that experience with everybody else. So Very, very proud.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anything you want to say?
I guess thank you for having me here and for this recognition. It means a lot. Yeah. I used to be a Jordan jumper when I was really small, and I competed with them for several years, and then I branched out and started training outside of Parry Sound, and I went to Japan with some friends and teammates from Hamilton. So it was quite a cool experience to say the least. So I'm very, very fortunate.
That's good.
Yeah.
My youngest son, Aaron, does the history when Georgian Jumpers started here. He was the only boy on the team.
Oh, really? Not much has changed.
Anyway, I tell you, watching him practice and that sort of stuff and going to the classes and watching. Fantastic cardio once you start young.
Yeah, and the sport has definitely evolved a lot over the last few years. There was a lot of world records that were broken at this championships, which was pretty cool. So,
Well, keep going.
thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
congratulations. Okay. Yeah. Hmm? Oh. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we have two additions to the agenda. One is the Joseph Street culvert replacement. And the other is another letter from Minister Calandra that's been added to the correspondence. Are there any other additions or prioritization of the agenda? Yes. No, I don't think so. No. No, it's just a deputation. Yeah. Okay, so no other additions or prioritization. Okay, mover and seconder then. McCann and Keith. That the council agenda for September 2nd, 2025 be approved as amended. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure pecuniary interest to the general nature thereof? Councillor McCann?
Yes, thank you. Item 911, I'm a driver for community support services.
Okay, great. No other declarations? No? Okay. Mover and seconder for the minutes. Bolesky and Borneman. The minutes from the regular council meeting held August 12th, 2025 be approved as circulated. Is there any discussion or comment on those meeting minutes? All in favor then? And that's carried. Okay, questions of staff. Councillor Borneman. Your mic.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question's for Mr. Thompson. There's been lots of discussion about the state of the new school. I'm wondering where we are with occupancy being granted for the old school, so kids can actually get back in the classroom. Where are we in that process?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's quite a whopper of a question. I'll try to summarize this as briefly as I can. As you mentioned, there's two projects ongoing currently. We have the new school being built, and it's moving through its process. And it's a standard process, just like most new builds are, with design and architects involved and engineers involved. And It's nothing special in the nature of what's going on. Maybe it's not moving as quickly as everyone would like, but it is moving forward. I would suggest that in the past 2 weeks, there's been significant progress on that particular site. With regards to the old school, that is a rather unique situation in that we have a building that had a demolition permit pulled for it and was in the process of being demolished when the program switched gears and changes had to be made. So within the past 2 weeks, the building department especially, but also the fire department has been in daily, multiple times a day, contact with the board staff especially, who are working on that project. And we are attempting to collaboratively move that forward as quickly as we can. Again, as I mentioned, it's unique. It was an existing building, and therefore it doesn't conform to the norms of what a new project would, in the sense that a month ago was never intended to be reoccupied, and demolition activities did occur. To resurrect that in a timely manner, a number of reports and engineers and architects need to be involved to bring the building up to a condition where it would be fit to occupy. First of all, from our perspective, the safety of the occupants, primarily the students, also the teachers and any visitors to that school is of the utmost importance. That's our responsibility in ensuring that everything gets done that makes the building safe to occupy. So in the past 2 weeks, we've been working extensively with the board on such things as structural engineering reports, ensuring that the fire alarm system is back up and running properly, reconnection of the services. The services had been disconnected, or some of the services at least had been disconnected to the site and needed to be reconnected to the site. And that would include HVAC systems and needing to ensure that when those HVAC systems are reconnected, that they're working properly and doing what they're supposed to be doing. We've also requested air quality assessments since the building was under a demolition permit. There was significant dust associated with the processes before 2 weeks ago. And to ensure that it's safe to occupy, that is another area that needs to be explored. And then one of the end pieces would be having a fire safety plan put in place with schools. That's critically important and an important part of the reoccupancy process. So all of these issues, those are the main issues. There's a number of smaller issues, of course, that everyone's trying to deal with, and like cleaning and all those sorts of other things that are going to have to occur. Progress has been moving along very quickly. And I guess I want to make sure that anything I tell you tonight is, of the most current information I had as of this afternoon, but that can change on an hourly basis as things are getting completed and coming to fruition and new problems are being recognized and resolved. So the information I had on Friday afternoon was completely different than the information that we had available to us Tuesday morning. And I'm sure that's the way it will go for this entire week. Staff are, the CVO was on site at least once today and in contact with board officials more than once and trying to address issues, resolve issues, and ensure that the project moves forward. We're having a very collaborative approach. Everyone is trying to make sure that the right things get done in the most efficient and timely manner, with the primary aspect being that before visitors, staff, or students are in the school, that it's appropriate and safe to occupy. So I don't have a timeline for completion, other than to say that as soon as we can possibly provide them with the fit for occupancy reports, we will be providing the board with that information.
Thank you. There was a comment in the minister's letter, Chief Thompson, that, the town of Parry Sound, the town of Parry Sound wasn't allowing non-construction people on site, like into the building, in the old Parry Sound High School building, which was what I kind of read into unfortunate because it was slowing the process down. Could you explain the role of allowing non-construction people into the building and what compliances have to be in place to allow something like that, please?
Certainly. That comment is relatively accurate in that in the middle of last week, we did catch wind of two things occurring. First of all, staff starting to occupy the school in, plans of it being open, as well as the public being invited in for various administrative reasons. As I mentioned before, the old school is unique in that it was under a demolition permit. And I also previously mentioned that it's our responsibility, the building and fire department, to ensure the safety of the occupants. While a building is under permit such as that, construction workers are the individuals that are supposed to be in that building, not the regular occupants. For the regular occupants to be in a building such as that, the fire safety systems need to be working. We need to ensure that it's structurally safe. We hadn't received some of the necessary reports. We still haven't received some of the necessary reports for us to be able to determine that it is safe for regular occupancy. It's unfortunate if that's deemed as slowing the process down. I would like to suggest that it's actually ensuring that the people who are going to be in that building and are supposed to be occupying that building are safe. And it's our responsibility to look out for those individuals and ensure that that building is safe.
And we're working under the Ontario Building Code, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we utilize the Ontario Building Code and the Ontario Fire Code as the compliance pieces. And that's what we apply when we deal with any type of building or occupancy issues that we have to deal with.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions of staff? Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is for Mr. Cairns. I understand on the fitness trail, the fitness circuit, so to speak. I'm wondering about that process as to where the circus is in the plans there. And will any of that be able to be oriented towards accessibility persons?
Through your worship. So I can't give you a complete update on the percentage complete. I do know that Miss McNamara was headed back down there this afternoon. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to reconnect regarding the progress that's being made down there. And as far as accessibility, I will have to get back to you, unfortunately, on that. I'll have to review. It's been a little while since I looked at the plans personally, but I'll review that with Ms. McNamara tomorrow and can certainly inform council by email if that's okay.
Any other questions? No? Okay, correspondence, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor McGarvey. We have a number of items of correspondence this evening. The first is from David Bernardi, a resident of Parry Sound. He is writing regarding parking required on Bowes River, North Road areas, a subject of a report to councils several meetings ago. He's concerned that there was ever consideration of having parking along Bowes and Seguin, but thinks that there may be a long-term solution through the purchase of available empty property along Bowes. The next item is from the Canadian Coast Guard. At a meeting, probably the first meeting in June, Council passed a resolution asking that the Coast Guard consider further lighting of buoys into Parry Sound Harbor. So the Canadian Coast Guard has responded, indicating that Parry Sound Channel indeed is classified as a commercial route, and it contains about 38 aids to navigation between the Seguin Bank, which is a lighted buoy, and Salt Point, which is a fixed light. The request that we have made highlights that commercial vessels, are now continuing beyond the typical ending point of Salt Point. And so this is triggering a process for them to make an assessment as to the navigational requirements further into the harbor. The next item is from the Prime Minister's office, acknowledging receipt of the correspondence and resolution relating to highways 11 and 17, and that was the model of 2+1. The writer, who's the executive correspondence officer to the Prime Minister, indicates that the communication has been read and it's being shared with the Minister of Transport and Internal Trade, the Honorable Chrystia Freeland, for her information. The next item and the series of next items, it has to do with the Near North District School and the Parry Sound JK to 12 school project. So the first in this series is August 21st letter from the Honorable Paul Calandra, Minister of Education, responding to the town's resolution and correspondence after the last meeting in August, where there were a number of concerns shared with the minister. So the minister is responding, indicating a couple things, that he has directed the Near North District School Board to prepare a contingency plan to ensure students' learning is uninterrupted by the construction delay, and that parents and students receive timely updates as the project progresses. And so certainly that was already over 10 days ago, and there's been other information since then. The next item is from Parents for Parry Sound. You'll recall they made a deputation at the last meeting. The representatives of Parents for Parry Sound are Vicky Christie, Shane Reynolds, and Amy Black. And they continue to express concerns about the delay, and without an occupancy permit, the students cannot legally enter the building. So their specific ask of the town were three things: be proactive in communicating with the public about the town's role and responsibilities in this process. 2, reassure families that building officials are working to ensure safety and code compliance while reinforcing that it is the Near North District School Board's obligation to secure the necessary permits. And 3, continue pressing the Minister of Education to intervene immediately in the Near North District School Board governance and administration. And then the next letter is again from Parents for Parry Sound. So the first letter I read was August 21st, and then this letter now is August 27th, so almost a week later. Continue to express concern with the delays in the opening and the process and lack of communication. So a major ask in this letter was in organizing a joint meeting with the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra, MPP Graydon Smith, Premier Doug Ford, the Near North District School Board, and representation from themselves also at that meeting. They have some suggestions. A practical immediate solution in keeping McDougall School open was one. I'm sorry, they're also including having local mayors, councillors, First Nation representatives, and municipal CFOs or CAOs at the table with the ministry to demonstrate a united, organized approach to this situation. And on the agenda, later in the agenda, there are some resolutions dealing with this school issue. The last in the series of the school issue is again a letter from the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra. It is addressed to the parents and is in response to some of the letters that he has received. So a main issue or a main thing, a new thing in this letter is giving an indication of where the high school students will be expected to be, and they're expected to return to the old Parry Sound School for the 2025-26 school year. The school will be demolished, and once the new site is completed, to allow the full operation of the new JK to 12 school when it is safe to do so. On the advice of Graydon Smith, the MPP, he indicates that he is launching a full governance review of the Near North District School Board. The board's own trustees recently voted to request an investigation, underscoring the seriousness of the situation. This review will begin immediately, and the Minister of Education has asked for a report back in 30 days. And the last item of correspondence is from Peter Istvan. He is launching a project called People of Parry Sound Project, and he is sharing portraits and stories of the people, longtime locals, new faces, quiet change makers who give this town its spirit and heart. And he is opening up an opportunity for nominations, and there's an online form, and this can be accessed through the town's agenda, which is on our website. And that's
Thank
the
you.
correspondence. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Our next item of business are deputations, and our first deputation is from Ann Bossart with regard to Tower Hill. Welcome, Ann.
Button.
There you go. You're live.
Usually you say state your name and your address.
I think you know.
I'm
the
a woman
procedure.
who needs no introduction. I forgot my glasses, but I printed this in big print, so hopefully we're good to go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Tower Hill Gardeners gathered for the first time in June of 2012, making this the 14th season we have been volunteering. I have presented updates to you on our activities and accomplishments over the years fairly frequently. I usually try to squeeze in as many photos as I can during the time I am allotted, but this year, seeing as how it is not yet winter, you can visit the garden anytime to see how amazing it actually is. I haven't done a deputation since 2022, but it was a comment made by Mr. Cairns at your July meeting that prompted me to be here tonight. He encouraged people to climb the trail under the trestle up to Tower Hill, saying, "It is in fantastic condition right now. The grounds are wonderful. The weather has been great for growing things." At that point in the summer, the weather had been cooperating, but I think that the state of the garden had more to do with the 600 hours my team had put in up to that point and the efforts of the Parks and Recreation staff than with the weather. Parks and Rec staff have kept the grass cut, the trimming done, have emptied the garbage pails endlessly, and have dragged our branch trimmings off to the transfer station whenever we like. I invite you to drop by in the spring when we clean out the pond, and you will see how well we work together. Bring your hip waders and a raincoat and be prepared to go home smelling like pond slime. We had a visit from our MP Scott Aitchison this morning, and he enthusiastically agrees with Mike's assessment. He is a gardener and is threatening to return in his work clothes. He also enjoyed a quick peek into the museum as he had never seen the train before. And he presented us with this lovely certificate that we will display somewhere prominently. Tonight, I want to talk about the gardeners and introduce them to you to try to quantify the contribution we have made over the past 14 seasons. We begin every year around the beginning of May and usually wrap up around the end of October. The size and makeup of the team varies from year to year, but we usually put in about 600 hours during the season. Volunteers come and go. There have been over 50 of us over the years, but some of the gardeners have been by my side since the very beginning. This year, I have an exceptional team, and I would like to introduce those gardeners who are here this evening and acknowledge those who aren't, along with how many years they have been working in the garden. I have told them they need to stand up when I call their name. Those who started with, my name is Boss Art. Those who started with me in 2012 are Barbara Fisher, and all of you remain standing till you're all standing, please. Barbara Jackson, Sharon Link, and Fran Stewart. Joining us in 2015 were Mary Hashigian, who isn't here tonight, and Liz McWalter, who is. In 2019, Meryl Hammond and Karen Heilborn joined us. Neither of them are here tonight. And in 2020, Kathy Lee joined us. In 2021, Maureen Piddington joined, and in 2022, Tracy Rogerson and Anne Herdman, who we had lured back onto the team after she retired from many years working for the town of Parry Sound. Our numbers were dwindling until we were joined by Linda Ritchie in 2024, and then this year our ranks swelled with the addition of Shenda Davy, Christine Thompson, Samantha Adamson, Vaughn Bosley, and Jamie McLeod. 18 people showing up pretty much every week is how we managed to put in a whole year's worth of work by the beginning of August. The hours we put in are equal to one full-time staff person from the beginning of May to the end of October, not just for July and August. But where do you suppose you would find one person with the gardening knowledge and experience we bring? I have volunteered as a gardener in many places over the years, but the most rewarding was at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center in Austin, Texas. It is an exceptional place, and Lady Bird was an exceptional woman. I have tried to model the volunteer experience at Tower Hill accordingly. She believed that volunteers should be, you can sit down. Sorry. Oh, they're so loyal. So loyal. She believed that volunteers should be valued and recognized. She acknowledged all the things that volunteers give: their time, their talent, and their treasure. Our group gives all those things. I won't embarrass them again by making them stand, but a few for instances. Barbara Jackson, the retired potter, made our "Please do not feed the fish" signs, as well as Mr. Mudhead's googly eyes. Maureen Piddington made and painted the gnomes in the forest. Sharon Link is a hostomaniac with an enviable collection she divides and donates on the regular. Nobody has an eye for stacked stone like Anne Herdman. And Fran Stewart's love and knowledge of birds inspired the theme of our wildlife habitat garden. Kathy Lee's experience as an outdoor educator helped us pull off a successful morning with the 5th graders from Wissahickon School last fall. And me, I have staying power. Our success is not quite as easy to measure, but I think we can all agree that we have made a positive impact. We are there as a group only one morning a week, but receive high praise from the visitors we encounter. When I'm at the garden other times, I'm astounded by the number of people visiting. The feedback I receive on social media and through the grapevine is always complimentary. A few weeks ago, like this evening, I went over there after dinner to turn off the hose refilling the pond and spent some time chatting with 2 couples who are about my age. One of the women grew up in Parry Sound, lived her adult life elsewhere, and has returned now that she and her husband have retired. She remembers the garden from her childhood and thinks it is even better with the museum there. She commented that it is a real destination. I smiled and agreed and thought, if only it was what it could be. If only there was signage, a big sign announcing that this is Tower Hill Heritage Garden. I've been asked on more than one occasion if it is private property. Wayfinding signage. The signs at the foot of George Street say museum and lookout, but there is no mention of a garden. The garden is not marked on the tourist information maps that are available at the Stocky Center in Town Dock. Two ladies recently told me that they've been coming to town for the festival for years and had no idea there was a garden to visit until the person at the ticket office at the Stocky Center marked it on the map for them. Signs to identify the plants that people might want to plant in their home gardens. We have quite a few interesting ones, and unfortunately, some people just take the plants they want when no one is around. We had a large hydrangea yanked out of the ground earlier this summer. And interpretive signs in the woods to teach visitors and residents about the unique ecosystem here in the Georgian Bay biosphere. If only the ranger cabin held a display telling the unique story of the garden and a summer student within it providing information. If only the museum were open every day in the summertime and more than 4 to 6 hours when it is, and had the resources to offer family programming, even day camps, that would engage the interest of the very people who pay the taxes to keep the museum lights on and the grass in the garden cut. How many locals say, I was there once, I've seen the exhibit, history doesn't change. If only there was a bathroom. The museum is never open on Tuesday morning, no matter the season, and every single week we must tell people there is no public washroom. For the past couple of summers, there has been a porta potty in the parking lot, but many people choose to leave rather than use it. Then Tower Hill would be a destination. This is not the first time I've spoken to you about this. My very first presentation to council was on June 16th, 2009, on behalf of the Municipal Heritage Committee. I had drawn the short straw, Barbara Fisher drew a long one, and presented a PowerPoint entitled Supporting Heritage in Parry Sound, Identify, Protect, Promote. I pitched my idea using a slide titled Promote and Cultural Tourism, which declared that what attracts tourists is authenticity, historic architecture, family history, and learning and enrichment. Tower Hill with the museum and garden ticks all those boxes. When the town purchased the property from the MNR in 1985, it was with the intention of creating a cultural hub on Tower Hill. There was to be a museum whose programming and artifacts would extend into a beautifully maintained garden with an amphitheater to augment the Performing Arts Center that would be home to the Festival of the Sound and Rainbow Theater. Remember them? There was to be an art gallery for artists around the sound or artists round the sound, and of course, a Bobby Orr Hall of Fame. That vision was never realized as the artists took on the CP station and the Stocky Center and Bobby Orr Hall of Fame found their place at the waterfront. I have a copy of the landscape plan for Tower Hill that I look at every so often and think, if only. That vision does not need to be abandoned. The most important component was realized. The museum was situated next to a garden created by a visionary who was tasked with building a Northern Ontario forest fire protection network. Our cultural, economic, and natural heritage are tightly intertwined and should be celebrated. The museum is presently embarking on a rebranding exercise, and I feel that it should reflect Tower Hill as a whole. The signs at the bottom of George Street shouldn't say Museum and Lookout Tower, but should say, fill in the blank, join the team. We don't know yet, but we're happy to hear from everybody who has a vision. When people visit the Amazing Places website, they find a tower. When they visit the museum website, they find the museum and information about the collection and activities. And when they visit the Tower Hill Heritage Garden website, they find the garden and its story. There are some links between the three, but I think that since they are all chapters of the same story, they should be pages on one website. I know the town owns the garden and tower, and the museum is owned by the area municipalities who lease land from the town. But I think there are ways to bring the garden and its story into the museum and the stories and artifacts the museum is holding for us out into the garden. And I think it is up to the town to figure out how to make that happen. Don't forget, There are flush toilets behind those closed doors. I know this was all my idea in the beginning, and I know that when you pick up one end of a stick, you need to be prepared to carry the whole thing. The Tower Hill stick has two ends. Since 1985, it has been Tower Hill Park and Garden, a town park like all the rest, with the same commitment to maintenance as all the others. The town picked up the park end of the stick and was satisfied with the result. People continued to pick up Kentucky Fried Chicken at the corner, have a picnic, climb the tower, check out the fish in the pond, and remember how beautiful the garden once was. Then I came along and picked up the garden end of the stick, scared up a posse, and as we see the leaves starting to change color on our 14th season, here we are. Over the years, I have hinted and hoped that the town would change the fulcrum point on this stick teeter-totter and eventually be carrying the whole stick in the middle with both hands. The last time I gave you an update was in 2022, when both my husband and one of my two daughters were fighting for their lives. I told you then that although the group has a few more years in it, my future in Parry Sound as leader of the Tower Hill Gardens was uncertain. I encouraged you to explore ways to enable April and her staff to gradually assume my role. You all know how things worked out for me. My husband died less than a year later, and if my daughter, mother of two young children, tells me that her cancer has reoccurred, the for sale sign will be up the following day, and the old Beaumont house will be available to anyone who wants it. Once again, I implore you to consider the reality of our current arrangement. There are some of us who are not senior citizens, but consider the fact that most of us were already retired when we started in 2012. I urge you to look closer at the museum and consider how strengthening your relationship and support could turn Tower Hill into a destination like no other in Ontario, Canada, or even the world. Thank you. Oh, really?
Thank you, Anne. That was very good.
Thank you.
You have a copy for us?
Yeah, I will email it to Rebecca when I get home tonight, when I
Perfect. Thank you.
check it one more time for typos.
Yeah. Everyone does do a fantastic job up there on making that place look fantastic. When I was in Ottawa for AMO, I did have a conversation with our MP and how impressed he was, and said that he was going to try and do something or whatever to acknowledge the work that you're doing. So I'm glad that he did. Yeah. Any questions from council members? Councillor Keith?
Thank you, Ms. Bossart. What I was wondering about, and I really appreciate, and I have many times when people come to Parry Sound, ask them where to go. That's one of the places I always suggest, and I do admit I also suggest it's free. You can stay as long as you want and observe and how beautiful it is. But tonight, when you were stating the different members that were able to attend tonight, it seemed like all these strong backs were of the female persuasion. Now, what percentage do you have of volunteers that are of the male persuasion? Because I would think that that's another important asset for volunteering at the Tower Hill there, because I think it would also be of assistance.
Well, we have had men. We never turn away a man, and currently Vaughn Bosley is on our team. His wife Tracy was a member of the Tower Hill Gardeners, as well as a Horticultural Society person and a Georgian Bay Master Gardener. She died last winter of cancer, and he thought that volunteering with us would be better use of his time than volunteering at the hospital. David Gregory volunteered for a number of years, and because of his relationship with his wife, Lynn Slater, they brought us the lilac collection that her father had hybridized and patented, and we enhanced that with a collection of. And we've also had a gentleman named Peter Scully on our team, and he volunteered for 4 or 5 years. People come and go. Generally speaking, you know, although I have learned several things from the men, David Gregory taught me that there's merit to cutting back the spireas every summer and turning them into green meatballs, and there is, because then they don't seed in everywhere. But they come and go. They don't take direction well. They like to use loud blowers. They don't remove the hardware from the ranger cabin doors before they paint it. And, you know, they spill paint on the rocks and don't bother cleaning it up. But generally but this summer when the Red Hat ladies toured the garden, and one of the women said, my husband is a gardener and I'd love to get him out of the house, and we used to have a big garden and we don't anymore. I said, you know how to get a hold of me, but I haven't heard from him yet. So we would gladly take advantage of and not all of our gardeners are experienced. We take beginners and we set them to work beside someone who is experienced. We've also had a person from community living coming on a regular basis last year, and with an assistant, and we found things for that person to do. So we are very welcoming and inclusive. And if all you can do is stand at the end of a hose, you are valued.
Thanks. Councillor McCann?
How are you this evening? Thanks very much.
I'm good. I even washed my shirt since this morning. I only have one. Maybe I should have two.
That's well done. Thanks very much for that. I was just thinking on the heels of your presentation this evening. And of course, as you mentioned, the museum is working on rebranding at this point in time. And I think what you brought forward here presents some pretty good arguments as to where we might want to and why we might want to put money in the budget for fixing up George Street. At our last meeting at the museum, it was brought to my attention. I never thought about it, but that portion of George Street between Forest and the museum is the only street in town that's not paved. So
There's a little bit of pavement on it.
well, I suppose a little spotty. It's anyhow. I think that in light of what your endeavor is to make this a destination, I think this is good fuel for our arguments and moving forward to get some money into the budget to enhance access to Tower Hill. So thank you very much for your presentation this evening.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Our next deputation is Kirby Hall with regard to Louisa Street Commercial Corridor Development. Welcome, Kirby.
Can you turn the microphone on, please?
Oh,
Yes. Excellent. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Kirby Hall. I'm here to present a project we've been working on for almost a year with respect to Louisa Street corridor. It's a fairly ambitious project, so I will probably just start with a little fly through movie of it, sure. And then I'll elaborate a little bit more after that. The DJ music's not mine. So on the right, that's the gas bar in the lower right corner, existing Canadian Tire gas bar, and the Parry Sound Inn and Suites. So just moving northbound up Louisa Street. This is our concept. We have a 14-acre parcel. You'll notice the trail alongside the existing Louisa Street. You'll notice some trees, the little parkettes, all of the shops, small restaurants. Moving further up, a couple of drive-throughs. This is conceptual, it depends on market demand and who wants to be located here on this property, but that's a car dealership. That's the first of 2 dealerships. You'll see the Highway 400 in the background. And this is the very far north end of the property and another larger car dealership. Hopefully that music got you at least. So, is this the one I sent you guys? All right. Okay, so here's just sort of a clearer picture of the overall site. Again, this is conceptual, but it's fairly close to to what it will be, with the exception of some different maybe sizes of buildings, but it's fairly close in concept. This I don't know if you can see where my cursor is, but that potentially is a like a larger box store. This here is potentially a restaurant. This here is potentially a restaurant. These buildings located along here are drive-throughs with smaller, like a drive-through end cap, call it, and then between the end cap, it would be like smaller shops or restaurants, such as a sub shop or a pizza shop or that sort of thing. Let's see what else we got here. So this is sort of a concept. This is basically just a concept of what we've been working on. So essentially, the goal here is to create not just a standard strip mall, but like an outdoor walkable, outdoor mall, so to speak. We want to basically have a canopy. It doesn't show the canopy here, but a continuous canopy where you can walk in underneath out of the elements if you want to get out of your car and somebody wants to get a coffee and somebody else wants to walk up and get a hamburger, or somebody else wants to check out a little shop or that sort of thing. You can walk in out of the elements. And we just really want to create this pedestrian friendly outdoor mall versus just a standard strip mall. And you can see here, the outdoor tables underneath the canopy, that sort of vibe. This is a bit of a zoomed out version. This would be if you're standing on Louisa Street looking in. There's a trail here. There's some picnic tables, some parking. I want to highlight on that a little bit. This is a view from the 400 southbound ramp as you would be coming into Bow Street. There's an existing pond that's overlooking the pond. You can see the buildings starting to appear. And again, this is zoomed out, a bit of a zoomed out version on the north end of the property with 2 car dealerships. No, those 2 car dealerships could be replaced with maybe it's 1 car dealership and a box store. But that's sort of the concept, and there's room there for those 2 dealerships in that area. This is just sort of a more detailed version of a bit of a retail area. And this is just a AI version of a restaurant. Um, so I sort of want to highlight, just speak to this a little bit. So currently Louisa Street is an is old highway, as you know, old highway 69. The right of way is 30 meters wide, which is, it still looks like an old highway when you travel it. And we really want to uh, make it more of a street. So part of our plan is to create a walking trail or bike trail along Louisa Street, and then as well add greenery and trees, et cetera, to the side of Louisa Street. You can also see, oh, shoot, if I zoom in. If I zoom in here, you'll see what we've introduced is some parallel parking. So along Louisa Street, we want to add the idea of parallel parking. So if you're, if you're traveling and you have a snowmobile trailer in the winter, you got a place you can pull in, or you have a boat trailer or an RV trailer and you're heading to Kilbear, you can pull in, you got somewhere you can pull in and, with ease and get out and, grab a bite to eat or do a little bit of shopping or that sort of thing and really pull people in. We really want to create a destination. So we want to do some cool things with the property because it does have some unique features. Like it has this, Jesus, has this existing wetland that we want to preserve, and we want to enhance and create like sitting areas and picnic tables around it. Maybe do some funky stuff, just like an old boat or something like that. Create a bit of an experience. If you're traveled to Weber's and you get out and you've got a burger and you go over the train and you get a coffee or whatever and you get out of your car and you kind of hang out. We want to create that kind of draw or that vibe, I guess, of having something that's kind of cool and sort of generational. Like kids are going to want to stop there, and their kids are going to want to stop there, and it's going to bring people into Parry Sound. We really don't have great exposure off of Highway 400, and this will help considerably, creating. When you're driving through, you're actually going to see a bit of a city center start to come to life, and through the use of some big pylon signs. Like we have a big rock bluff that's on the property. We can create an area right up here where we can put a sign that's gonna symbolize that there is something there, and you can see that sign for about 1.5 kilometers out. That's gonna start to help to bring people in. So we prepared this conceptual plan, and we just went to market with a realtor group about 3 weeks ago. We haven't really scratched the surface, but the response has been pretty significant. So I was keeping this kind of under wraps. I really wasn't showing this to anybody. I never sent this to too many people. Really didn't want to talk about it too much until I kind of knew it was going to be something. So it appears that there is significant demand from businesses wanting to be located in Parry Sound. So it seems like that we've got something going on good in this town, in this community, in this area, and there's a lot of businesses that want to be part of it, and there's a lot of businesses that want to grow and expand into, and Parry Sound's on the radar. So they range from a small QSR, like a small quick serve restaurant, to a larger restaurant, to a larger box store, to, like, there's a lot of different There's also some interesting car dealerships, those sorts of things. So there's a lot of interest. So I don't think it'd take us too long to, it looks ambitious, but I don't actually think it'd take us all that long if we really wanted to fill it out. So the site is very rugged. Our plan is to get the first phase, which I'll show you back here. So this would be the first phase. So because of the ruggedness of the site, we need to rough grade the entire site. So basically that means drilling and blasting from one end of the site, the south end of the site, and moving the rock to the north end of the site. Very, very difficult to do after there's businesses occupied on the south end of the site to be blasting around them and doing all these sorts of things. So very significant amount of work will be required to do that. So we've been working diligently on a site plan for that. We have a draft site plan prepared, full servicing drawing of the site, full topography of the site completed. So our plan is to try to move this forward whereby we can start on the rough grading this winter and get a lot of this heavy stuff, heavy civil work behind us over the winter months and early spring months, and then start to move forward with the first phase, which is that area right in front of you there, with construction of that early spring. So we're actually bringing forward a site plan for the first building on this site within the next week. So we have a tenant already, and we're bringing that forward in a week and a half, within the next week and a half. So by the end of next week. So that will be, we'll just keep it simple. We'll just keep it to one building for now, so that hopefully that will fast track that through the process and it won't be overly complicated. But you can see the grander scale of what we're doing here. And there's a couple of things there we need to table. It was guided that tonight would be a good opportunity to table it. So it would be start the process of purchasing the strip of land between our property and the not the shoulder of Louisa Street, but like somewhere closer to the edge of shoulder of Louisa Street. And then what that looks like, because we're proposing some parking on it, but we're also proposing some green space and some trails and some parallel parking. So, whatever that looks like, but we sort of need to start to figure that out and just get ahead of that. And I guess the second thing would be, just to provide a phased outlook on services, because of try to get an understanding of what the demand is going to be of this development on the existing infrastructure as far as sewage capacities and that sort of thing. So we have prepared that, and we prepared a bit of a phased approach of what we think the uses are going to be, and the square footages, and what that relates to in sewage flows, and the time frame of that. We've prepared that, and we'll be submitting that as well, and looking forward to working with the town to be able to accommodate this very much needed development that pays back huge dividends and tax dollars and employment, and also, helping to put Parry Sound more on the map. So, do you guys have any questions?
Oh, I'm going to say, first of all, you and I have had a number of discussions about this already, and I'm impressed with what it is. So I'm going to let council ask questions. So, Councillor Ashford.
Sure. Thanks.
Just my first look, without knowing anything about anything, the municipal boundary there seems silly with the way the 400 is and the way it is with McDougall. Is that hindering you? And is there anything we can do to help with that? Because it does seem like some of the lands in McDougall, some of the lands in Parry Sound, and it can't make things easier anyways, if that makes sense.
Um, the way we set it up is the one building on the north end of the property is fully in McDougall. So there's a triangle portion of the property on the north end that is in McDougall. On that triangle, we can fit a 20,000 square foot building. We can drill a well and we can put a septic in. You know, there's definitely going to be some spillover hurricane and that sort of thing. It's not convenient, but it's workable. Yeah, it's workable without opening that Pandora's box. So, but the rest of the site, you know, we still have a significant amount of development on the rest of the site. We're unimpeded by any of that, right? So, you know, if that is something that, you know, we need to work on, we've got some time to do that and still be working on developing the rest of the site.
Again, it just looks like you almost could kind of connect all the way over to your current building, right? You know what I'm saying? Is it almost all one property in a certain sense? If that makes sense at all, if I'm catching the.
Yeah, we have an existing 10-acre property north of this property. Yeah, you know, if things went well and things took off, you know, you could start to see services out that end of Louisa's. And I mean, it doesn't just end with ours. There's lots of unique properties and nice properties along there, right? That are relatively flat and very suitable for residential, right? You know, Louisa Street is definitely underdeveloped, right?
Councilor McCann?
Thank you, Kirby, for coming forward with this. I like the vision. I was going to ask about the possibility of tenants, but it sounds like, as you said, you've been in touch with real estate people and you had some people knocking on the door, so that's promising. I was curious, do you see in the future all of these stores on separate properties, or is this one big development that you or your corporation would control?
Yeah, good question, Councilor McCann. I could see a couple of the northern properties be on a severance property. A lot of times a dealership wants to own their own land and own their own building, you know, for financing reasons. So that definitely is a possibility. As far as the other areas go, we would, you know, we're sort of flexible and loose at this point, but we know the conversations we're having right now is with leaseholds for the other ones, whether they're a land lease or a building.
Great, thank you. You mentioned about having some sort of an exposure off Highway 400, and you're right, there's not a whole lot that you see. So this, you know, you could blink and miss the whole south entrance if you weren't looking for something. So I like the idea that you can see this right from the 400, and I wish you all the best with it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Yeah, I know, that's right, that's right. Anyway, we're good, thank you. Thank you very much. And I think it's good to get it out there. People that watch the council meeting, that sort of thing, are able to see your presentation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Charge ahead. All right, next are reports, and we'll start with Councillor Borneman tonight.
The weekend of August 20th, I spent some time at Kinsman Park for the Native All Ontario Fastball Championship. It brought back some memories, and it was good to see the park in use. And I congratulate those Saxing Masters fastball team on their provincial championship.
Did they win? Oh, okay, good.
Some great action out there. August 27th, the Bell Heights board met. I think it was our first in-person board meeting since prior to COVID, which was a pleasant change. Our new administrator, Joel Pendant, is on the job. Construction is well underway. Renovations downstairs are hoped to be completed by early October. Uh, Councillor McCann confirms that concrete pours continue on a pretty regular basis up there with respect to the expansion of the footprint out front. Um, and while it's early days, I'm happy to say that the project appears to be on time and on budget to this point. Earlier that day, we had attended for the playground photo shoot with our MPP, Mr. Smith. I'd remind people that, well, the new school build is in a bit of a state. There are school buses operating out there. Slow down and keep everyone safe, please. And finally, I'd like to express or pass on my condolences to the Yock family on Len's passing. He was a driving force in this community, both as Director of Education for the West Parry Sound School Board and as the chair of the West Parry Sound Health Center Board during the build of the new hospital. He and his wife, Pearl, certainly have given a great deal to our community, for which we'll be eternally grateful. And that's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor McCann?
Thank you very much. And I can certainly attest to the construction that is occurring at Belvedere Heights because they've been drilling and pounding and banging right underneath our apartment. It feels like they're going to come through the floor some days, but all for a good cause. So good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, fellow councilors, staff, and public. Just adding to Councillor Borneman's condolences to the Yock family. This is something that that really hit home for me. I too would like to extend sincere condolences to his family. We lost another great pillar in our community. Len and his wife Pearl and family moved to Parry Sound in 1982. Coming from Sudbury, he played a pivotal role in merging Sudbury High School and Sheridan Technical School, becoming the founding principal of Sudbury Secondary School. And his signature is on my grade 13 diploma. Here in Parry Sound, he has served as a superintendent and later director of the West Parry Sound Board of Education. Innovative and forward-thinking, he was honored with a Lieutenant Governor's Award for his significant contributions to education in Ontario. Len was born and raised in Winnipeg. He met Pearl while beginning his teaching career in Red Rock, Nipigon, Ontario. The two married, moved to Sudbury where they raised their family and both taught. Len was also an entrepreneur. He was part owner of the Sudbury Wolves OHL team and also part owner of Roller Country, a very, at the time in the 70s, modern facility, a local popular roller skating rink. And I had a part-time job there as a disc jockey for a couple of years. Retirement certainly did not slow Len down, a dedicated volunteer. He served as chairman of the hospital board in the early 2000s, as Councillor Borneman mentioned, helping to establish the West Parry Sound Health Center and the adjoining Lakeland Long-Term Care Facility. And I don't think I knew this, but this would be the first nursing home in Ontario built as part of a hospital. Len's commitment to education also remained a priority, highlighted by his role as a chair of the Board of Governors of Georgian College in the 1990s. Throughout his life, Len remained active on numerous boards and committees, and in recognition of their extensive community service, both Len and Pearl received the Rotary Paul Harris Award in 2014. Len was deeply involved with St. Peter's, the Knights of Columbus, and he leaves behind a legacy of love, leadership, and service. The funeral service is taking place for him on Monday, September 15th at 10 o'clock in the morning at St. Peter's in Parry Sound. On a bit of a happier note, just to mention, my wife and I were down at the waterfront on Sunday afternoon. Certainly a very busy weekend on this Labor Day weekend. The weather was great and people were taking advantage of that, enjoying the backyard, the cottage, the beach, the patio, water, what have you. And particularly, there was a lot of traffic on the Sound Sunday afternoon. So it was great to see folks out and enjoying this last weekend of the summer. But as I like to remind everybody at this time of the year, back in my CKLP days, we looked at this time between between Labor Day weekend and Thanksgiving weekend is summer part two. So summer's not over and to get out there and enjoy it. And finally, all the best to students heading back to school, whether it's JK, elementary, high school, post-secondary. We wish you all the best in your studies. Make it count. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Bolesky?
Thank you, Your Worship. Very quiet weeks, but I did on the 27th, I attended the Belvedere Board of Directors meeting. We held it in the fire hall. Very with letters here there. And I felt to meet the new administrator. He gave us this performance, and he gave us an update on the construction at the hall at the Belvedere. And we took the past administrator up for a lunch at Henry's that got to know everybody a little bit better. And that's my report.
Thank you. Counselor Ashford?
Just one pool committee meeting for the Tamarack North Center. Would be nice if we had the physical pool getting installed, today. But it's right around the corner, so I think that's everything's still right on track. But it'll be real exciting to see. I don't know how it comes, if it comes in pieces or if it's going to be one of those giant wide load things coming down the highway or what it's going to look like. But that'll be kind of an exciting day to see that happen. That's not too far off. But and then the other thing is just with the mayor and Councillor Keith, we and so fellow councillors and mayors from other municipalities in the region were in Ottawa at the AMO conference for a few days there, having an opportunity to learn, attend different meetings and different activities and all the different things that kind of go with it. And that's everything for me.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Keith?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councilors, staff, and the public. As mentioned, I attended the Association of Municipalities Conference and pre-conference sessions. Some of them that I definitely took advantage of was in reference to housing, engaging youth, accessibility, and recycling. As mentioned by Councillor Borneman, I too attended the photo shoot at Wabano Beach Playground with other members of council and Minister MPP Graydon Smith. I attended a barbecue sponsored by Community Mental Health Services. It was a community barbecue that was held last week to engage people in the community, and as well as some of the members of the OPP detachment attended that barbecue. I also attended the International Overdose Awareness Workshop with the placing of remembrance of those persons who passed on due to addiction issues. And I too wish to extend my condolences to the York family. The other thing I would mention would be after the conference, the municipality conference was over, I took some time to go to a few more communities and review their playgrounds, accessibility, the type of equipment they are using in their town, and have passed on some of that information to some of the committees that I'm on, because I think it's always great to see ideas that seem to have worked on other communities, because we don't always have to invent the wheel. We can just use the wheel that's already there. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council staff and public, August 13th at 7 PM, I attended the Municipal Services Board meeting with regard to the Tamarack North Center that Councillor Ashford talked about. Everything seems to be on track, which is good. August 14th was the Parry Sound District Social Services Board meeting, which was held in person. And some updates from different departments were given to the board, and you should have received the update, right? Anyway, I did email it out. That it didn't go first because it was too big a file, and then they sent a smaller one or whatever. So anyway. August 15th, I headed to Ottawa for AMO board meetings, Ontario smaller municipality meetings, and the AMO conference. August 18th, I had the opportunity to actually have lunch with Andrew Coyne. Andrew Coyne's a well-known political commentator, and he was the keynote speaker at the AMO conference. So that was a really interesting conversation. So that was good. August 19th, Seguin's Mayor Ann McDermott and I met at 8 AM with the Minister of Education, Paul Callander, to discuss the new school build in Parry Sound and the Near North District School Board and the administration. Also on the 19th, there were some other AMO board functions and a retirement get-together for Brian Rosborough. Brian had a very distinguished career in public service and finished it off as Executive Director for the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. I presented Brian with a certificate from the town thanking him for his years of service to Ontario. Over 3,000 people attended this year's AMO conference in Ottawa. There was a speech from the Premier, leaders from other political parties, the Minister of Health, and the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Tuesday afternoon was the Ministers' Forum, where delegates get to ask ministers questions, and I was able to ask a question of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing about funding for shelter and support services for the homelessness, which is growing in our province. And I didn't realize that Councillor Ashford was behind me videotaping the whole thing. So anyway, August 22nd, I attended the opening of the Wissahickon for the All Ontario Fastball Championship. 37 teams in attendance, absolutely amazing. The town was busy. And the town of Parry Sound partnered with Wissahickon to make this event successful in our area. And I'd like to thank our staff that worked on this as well. And I didn't realize who had won, but I got to meet the master team from Wissahickon. So that's pretty cool that they won. August 27th, we had an official announcement for the NOHFC funding that we received for the upgrades to our parks. We received significant funding to support the redevelopment of our parks from the provincial government. I want to thank our MPP, Graydon Smith, for his support. The support from the NOHFC board, and Bill Spinney was on hand that particular day. And a big thank you has to go to our staff and the amazing work that they've done to rebuild these parks. And the final one is on the fitness trail. Just well done on everybody's part. Today I was on site with some parents and students on the Joseph Street sidewalk by Parry Sound High School. CTV and Your TV were also on site. To commend the parents and students that were out there with their signs and getting attention by people honking their horns and yelling and of support for them and that sort of thing. So it was good. I'd like to also extend my condolences to the family of Len Yock. You know, I got to know Len over the years, and he was very dedicated to this community. Both he and Pearl, very nice people, and certainly helped make Parry Sound a better place. I'd also like to offer my condolences to the West family with the passing of Andrea West. Andrea was a great volunteer with the Horticultural Society, weeding and planting gardens around town. I know there were many times she was crawling around at the Stocky Center or whatever, pulling out weeds or planting flowers and that sort of thing. But she was also a member of the curling club and a great volunteer there as well. So, and that was just recent. Anyway, that's my report. And we'll go on to the meeting. Moved by Councillor McCann and seconded by Councillor Bourne. Yep, you're leaving. Yes. You're going. Oh, and you signed it. Okay, it's now moved by Councillor Bolesky and seconded by Councillor Borneman. The council approves and directs staff provide a free parking permit for the James Street lot to be used by the volunteers of the West Parry Sound Community Support Services. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor McCann, if you can hear us, you can come back in now. Item 912, moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Bolesky, that council received the information about the automated speed enforcement program. Mr. Kearns, have you got anything you wanted to say about that? Oh, okay, Ms. Kruger, you're going to say something. Okay. Welcome.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. So the report is just to provide an update to Council with the information about the upcoming program, including some of our procedures that will be guiding the program and guiding our officers. So we just wanted to include all that information. We have a anticipated go live date of September 15th. We actually just received some hardware today, so we are moving forward and we should see that launching shortly. And there'll be additional information added to the website, obviously, before that launches, but can definitely find all the information there.
Ms. Kruger, do you think you could highlight some of the excessive speeding that has been tracked along that particular area, please?
Certainly, and perhaps Director Kearns may have some more information as far as stats, but I can say in our conversations that obviously traffic is monitored by the town, and that area has a high volume of vehicles that pass through the area in any given week. I believe, the summer numbers are close to 50 to 60,000 vehicles passing through that area on any given week, and over half of those vehicles are exceeding the speed limit, which is 40 kilometers in the area, by at least 20 kilometers per hour. So it's large volumes of excessive speeds that we do see in the area, and in the winter, the overall volume may go down to 30 or 40,000 vehicles passing through that area, but we're seeing the same type of ratios. So it is definitely a problem that we're working to address.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councilor McCann?
Just a comment, I've been reading headlines that, and I know people don't like the cameras, but they work, and there are headlines around the province that are making I'm sorry, there are headlines around the province that are showing that that the cameras are working, that people are slowing down and saving lives.
Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Councilor McCann? Councilor McCann? Moved by Councillor Ashford and seconded by Councillor Bolesky that the Council for the Town of Parry Sound appoint Dan Robertson as a member of the EMS Advisory Committee for the remainder of the council term. And further, that John Wilson be removed as a member of the EMS Advisory Committee due to his resignation from Berks Falls Council. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Bolesky, seconded by Councillor Ashford. Council accepts the bid from D-Rock Paving in the amount of $244,424.75, excluding taxes, for the storm sewer replacement on Joseph Street, this being the lowest qualified bid received, and that the project be funded from the 2025 capital budget Joseph Street culvert replacement, and the remaining $4,424.75 be funded from the annual stormwater improvement 2025 capital budget. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're getting into some of the long-winded ones here, so. Moved by Councillor Ashford and seconded by Councillor Boleski. Whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 15th to the 21st, 2025. Whereas 261 railway crossing and trespassing incidents occurred in Canada in 2024, resulting in 68 avoidable fatalities and 58 avoidable serious injuries. Whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railway right-of-ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway, rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public-private partnership whose aim is to work with the public, rail industry, governments, Indigenous communities, police services, media, and others to raise rail safety awareness. Whereas CN and Operation Lifesaver have requested City Council adopt this resolution in support of its ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in communities, including our municipality. Now therefore, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound hereby proclaims Rail Safety Week from September 15th to the 21st, 2025. Councillor Borneman.
So every year I give some speech about how I feel that we're just rubber stamping something and we don't see any action in our community. I fully support the concept of Rail Safety Week, and I would ask that we write these folks and ask them for the stats over the lifetime of this program that they've been operating for a number of years, because I'd like to see whether or not there's some demonstrated improvement in the number of accidents and fatalities, etc., as a result of their efforts, or if we're just playing hide and seek by passing this on an annual basis. Thank you.
So after this, if you want, we can have direction and do that. Yeah. Councillor Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And maybe this can be added to the direction that's just been suggested. I would appreciate if a representative from one of the railways come to council and do a deputation. And therefore they could present this information in person and we could be able to speak to the individual, because this is, I don't recall this happening, and I think it should be.
Councillor Borneman.
Just as an aside, strangely, last year, I actually got a phone call from a representative from the railway, so they do pay attention to things that question the veracity of the program.
I know one of those people that's what they do. They monitor correspondence and stuff or whatever. So yeah, Councillor Keith.
Well, I was just going to add, I had the same opportunity for communication with one of the representatives who recognized me and then went on with his spiel. But I think that the public and all of us, all of council, would appreciate it if we seen the representative in human form. So could we add that to the direction about regarding a letter?
When we
please?
get there. Yep. Yep. Any further questions, comments on this resolution? All in favor then? And that's carried. Thank you. Now, Ms. Johnson, did you kind of capture some of that?
Well, the draft is incorporating both Councillor Borneman and Councillor Keith's comments that staff write to CN Rail and ask for a presentation to council with statistics over the lifetime of this program to determine if there is a demonstrable improvement as a result of the program.
And to have someone come to a council meeting.
Yes, at the beginning of the draft, it says that staff write to CN Rail and ask for a presentation to council.
So we'll have that moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor Keith. Any comments, questions on that? No? Councillor McCann?
Does, well, yeah, CN's been mentioned, but does it, Canadian Pacific also involved in this, or is this just a simple CN thing?
It should really go to both. What I will say is that CN always has a booth, pretty much always at AMO, sometimes at Roma as well. So they are there to talk to the municipalities anytime that they want, but CP never, ever does. I know about 5-6 years ago or whatever, I was flagged down by the CP rep at that particular time because she went to, she was at the AMO conference and knew I was going to be there and wanted to talk. But her territory was from Montreal to Winnipeg. So they don't have a lot of people on the ground, whatever, and that kind of stuff through that particular area. So, but it should go to both. Councilor Belaski.
Thank you, Richard. I believe you and Mr. Harris and myself met a representative by accident at, was it Good Roads or Roma? Remember, we sat and talked to them a wee bit about it.
Yeah, yeah, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, yeah.
Mhm. That's right. Yeah. Anything further? All in favor then? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Ashford, whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, has recommended updates to municipal codes of conduct to include provisions for workplace safety, anti-harassment, and escalating enforcement mechanisms. And whereas these recommendations including workplace safety, harassment, and anti-discrimination policies in municipal codes of conduct, establishing a system of flexible administrative monetary penalties that reflect local economic conditions, and providing standardized and enhanced training for municipal integrity commissioners to ensure consistency of decisions across Ontario, enabling municipalities through a recommendation of an integrity commissioner to apply to a judge for the removal of a sitting member in cases of serious misconduct such as harassment or assault, prohibiting any removed member from running for office during the remainder of the term in which they were removed and the subsequent term. And whereas Bill 9 Municipal Accountability and Integrity Act 2024 has been introduced, building upon the recommendations of AMO and improving upon previous legislation, including the establishment of a Provincial Integrity Commissioner Board, removing the council super majority vote for removal. AMO believes that 2/3 majority vote is more proportionate and appropriate threshold for removing a council member for misconduct compared to the current requirement of a unanimous vote. This one's a book. Progressive discipline options. AMO is recommending that legislation include a range of disciplinary options, not just the removal from office. This could include options like censure, barring a member from attending meetings, barring them from committees, or barring them from being a committee chair or vice chair. They believe this would allow for a more nuanced approach to addressing misconduct, providing options that are more appropriate for different solutions. Inclusion of anti-discrimination, anti-violence, and harassment policies, a trauma-informed approach, protections for individuals who come forward with complaints, a statutory duty to report misconduct, and therefore be it resolved that the Town of Parry Sound Council, 1, supports the call of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario for the Government of Ontario to introduce legislation that strengthens municipal codes of conduct and ensures compliance with them in consultation with Ontario's municipalities. 2, endorses the recommendations outlined by AMO, including improvements to enforcement, training, and protections for both municipal staff and the public. 3, supports the passage of Bill 9, Municipal Accountability and Integrity Act 2024, as a critical step towards strengthening integrity and accountability in municipal government. And 4, directs that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Robin Jones, President of AMO, Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, that should be Rob Flack. MPP Graydon Smith, Parry Sound Muskoka, MP Scott Aitchison, Parry Sound Muskoka, all municipalities within the district of Parry Sound. Any discussion? Councillor McCann?
I was just wondering about the word censor. That jumped out at me when I first read this. What are they referring to?
Be the person I would imagine that was made the violation.
The person that's being admonished is, I guess I'm wondering what the context of censored. It just,
I don't 100% know on that one myself,
okay,
but that would be my guess. Would
Okay.
have to do with the person that made the violation.
okay, all right.
Any other questions, comments? No? All in favor then? That's carried. Thank you.
Point of order.
Councillor Keith?
Yes, I'm wondering, Mr. Mayor, have we missed 9.4.1 that had to do with the conference, the group conference?
This item was removed from the agenda. It was withdrawn. The manager of water systems is not here to report on this issue.
Item 953, moved by Councillor Boleski, seconded by Councillor Ashford. Whereas there remain outstanding concerns with respect to the opening of the JK Grade 12 school in Parry Sound. Now therefore, the Council of the Corporation of Town of Parry Sound authorizes the mayor to request a heads of council and First Nations chiefs from the West Parry Sound area to meet with 2 representatives from the parents of Parry Sound as soon as possible to form a unified strategy on how to move the community's concerns forward with the province and the Near North District School Board. Any discussion? Councillor Borneman.
Well, there's certainly been lots of discussion about this in the last 2 weeks. We've heard from everyone from the ministers to different local groups. One group that we haven't heard from is the administration of the Near North District School Board. I might wonder if it might be interesting to add an invitation to them to attend the meeting to explain their position and the status of the school. I doubt very much that they would accept it, but I don't think that we have anything to lose by asking.
I don't know. I didn't think this was really a meeting for that. It was more or less to move ahead with our concerns because we do have a lot of concerns. But yeah, that's true. Councillor Keith?
Well, my thought was along the same line as Councillor Borneman, because I think the message that I certainly have received different times is communication. There need to be really good communication. So I still think that offering them the opportunity to come to the meeting, if they don't come, they don't come, but it could always surprise us. And I think that that would be a great thing if everybody sits in one room and has a discussion. It might turn out to be very fruitful.
It might be, but my only concern right now is that the ministers asked for an investigation into the administration. And I think at this time, we should let the minister play that investigation out. We have our own concerns here as to which will end up going to the minister on that. And I think there's a process here that we need to wrap our heads around first and then move forward if we decide we want to meet with the administration. Councillor Keith?
Thank you. Another question would be, here I noticed it said meet with 2 representatives of the parents for Parry Sound. How did the number 2 get determined, seeing as it seems like every time there was correspondence, there was 3 people's names?
I think what I'm seeing is there's a lot of stuff out there right now running around. I think we need to make this meeting as concise as possible, and more streamlined that meeting is, I think the better outcome we're going to have discussion on this. So that would be my take on a couple of people. They can decide who the 2 people are they want to send. And we'll go from there. I want this to be with a direct outcome so that we have something good to put forward to the minister or whatever, and moving forward for the future of education in Parry Sound and area. Yes, Councillor Keith.
Yeah, so just for clarification, okay, you've explained, Mr. Mayor, about the number of 2 representatives. Do you have a target date of when you're hoping that this meeting will occur? Like this month in September? Are we talking, is that the target date or?
We'll do what we can to put it together. I hope it better be this month.
Thank
I
you.
know that everybody's busy, but I hope that they'll set aside their time to have this take precedent.
Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McCann, whereas on numerous occasions, the parents for Parry Sound have requested information on the JK grade to grade 12 Parry Sound School project and the contingency plan for the project, and have stated concerns for the safety and well-being of students and staff. And whereas the Near North District School Board, the board, has advised the public of a contingency plan for delayed JK to grade 12 school opening, revised version dated August 26, 2025, posted on the board's website. And whereas the board issued a media release on August 26 titled Near North District School Board Updates Contingency Plans Moves Parry Sound High School to Remote Learning. And whereas the safety and well-being of students and staff attending the various schools identified in the contingency plan is of the highest priority. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound is hereby request the Near North District School Board ensures that the safety and well-being, including mental health and stress of students, parents, staff, and staff utilizing the facilities identified in the contingency plan be top priority in all phases of the implementation of the plan. Any discussion? Councillor Ashford.
I just wanted to add one thing. Like I don't have the information that the people do that are making the decisions. So in a certain sense, I can't necessarily comment too much. But within the last couple, it's not uncommon for schools not to be fit. It should be more uncommon. It's not uncommon for some reason for a school not to be fit for occupancy. For example, mold. They discover a lot of schools are old infrastructure is something like $16-17 billion back, of infrastructure that needs to be put into the schools in Ontario. Things happen. And there's choices made by the people that made these choices, but a school recently that I'm familiar with in our area had to have occupancy removed because of a mold issue. And within 3 days, the principal, with support from board office staff, was able to lease space from other schools, gyms, things like that. Pentecostal church that had a lot of meeting rooms and a big worship space that wasn't being used during the week. And so I just want to put that out there that in that decision-making process, whatever there's many different things that could be driving the different things, but there are plans that could be put in place. Those kids missed 3 days of school, just basically so things could be carried over to the new buildings and things started up, different. I don't know why they're similar or different, so I can't really criticize, but at the same time, there are possibilities out there that I just wanted to mention it because I just feel like maybe there could be more different choices being made in different ways as well.
Any other comments? All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound is hereby request the Minister of Education to immediately take over management of the JK to grade 12 Parry Sound School construction project and conduct an investigation into the practices of the Near North District School Board. Any discussion? Councillor Ashford?
Just again, a little bit of nervousness with not with what we're doing, but with just how things are sometimes used, and we can't really predict how things will be used, but sometimes, politicians, maybe more south of the border, can take a situation and use it as leverage to turn it kind of upside down on its head to get a goal that they want to have accomplished. So I think part of what the mentality of what we're looking at is we want to have local accountability and local decision making for school boards. In our area, that there's certainly some disconnect between the accountability part and the local part. And we don't want to, I don't think we don't want to give fuel to a fire of somebody who's trying to centralize centralized decision making for schools. So I just hope we're not contributing anything, because if we're in a situation where legislation's being changed and this situation is being brought up as the example of why it's so important. It is important. We need to have things changed for this situation not to happen. But I think we also need to be specific, because if perhaps at a different scenario a few years ago, when we were looking at the Near North Board was looking at the future of schools in our area, if that decision was made in Queen's Park, or if that decision is going to be made in Queen's Park in the future, we might just find there's just 30 pods built and nobody says another word about a school building, right? We might find that, Whitestone, Humphrey, all these schools just get combined into a giant pod school. And that there's no local accountability or local decision making if the decisions are all happening in Queen's Park. Because what do you got? You basically got one MP that you could vote and or one MPP to try to vote and work on that. So I just hope when we're communicating these things, we're also keeping in mind as a community that we're not saying these things because we think that there needs to be a major change in the system in Ontario that will centralize decision making. We're looking at local decision making and local accountability. In my opinion, anyways, I can speak personally for that. I think this situation would have been worse if it was being made, if we didn't have any local input, which some people in our province are pushing for that kind of agenda, that it's just Queen's Park decides, bureaucrat in Toronto decides what's the best numbers, and no one in Parry Sound gets a say.
My read on it is Councillor Borneman has a question, is that this is a local situation and that we're dealing with a very difficult situation, and just kind of let the minister know that they need more oversight on this particular situation. Councillor Borneman.
Well, I thank Councillor Ashford for his comments. I think the last time we were here and we discussed this, we identified that our preference would be that the West Parry Sound School Board be reintroduced. What we're doing with this is saying that the community, quite frankly, has lost confidence in the Near North District School Board, and that some changes need to happen sooner rather than later, and that there's no other entity that's in position really to drive this project and get it to deliver it to finish it. They control the money, And they have quite honestly, they have the political mandate and authority to do so, in a timely way.
Counselor Blaski?
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with what Councillor Ashford says, but this reads that we're asking to take over the construction project only, not the management of the board or future boards. It's just for this school, this particular construction project for this particular school. That limits us to
And
the,
we did ask for an investigation into the practice of the board, and they have said they're going to do that. Counselor Keith?
So, thank you. I think that certainly the way this resolution is written and what has already been done by council in the past is that we are showing a pattern of concerns to the minister. So that's all we're doing here. We're not trying to change the whole system.
Right. Counselor McCann?
I like the idea that we make it very clear that this is strictly for the construction project. I'm just wondering what it would look like when they take it over. Sometimes I think we're closing the barn door a little bit too late here. In this resolution that we're presenting, what do we imagine that the ministry will do for us? How's it going to change the game plan in getting the school built and open a little sooner than it is?
That's for a fortune teller, Counselor Bourne, or Counselor McCann. I say, Counselor McCann, that's for a fortune teller.
You want a crystal ball?
Yeah. Counselor Ashford?
Yeah, so I agree. I think what we're saying, what we're writing is proper. I just wanted to make it clear that was the mindset that I think we all have and we're all behind.
Okay.
One project that's very serious, in need of very serious,
Okay.
yeah.
Anything else? All in favor then? And that's carried. Moved by Counselor Keith and seconded by Counselor Ashford that bylaw number 2025-7526 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation for the approval of the Bay Street Wharf Revitalization Funding Agreement to be considered as read a first time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Counselor Keith and seconded by Counselor Ashford that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Anybody want to just give a little update on that? Chief?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is, as council will recall, we submitted a funding application for the priority 2 repairs on the Bay Street Wharf. We call it the town dock. The DFO name for it is the Bay Street Wharf. That mostly revolved around concrete repairs to the bullards, to fortify the bullards, as well as timber bumpers along the dock. There were some other minor concrete repairs. Those were the priority 2 repairs. DFO was clear that they would not fund those repairs because they were primarily related to the cruising industry, which is not their mandate. NOHFC has approved that funding up to $500,000. There is a municipal investment of approximately a little over $200,000 that has been budgeted for in the 2025 budget. The timeline for the completion of this, we're hoping that we'll be able to get a tender documents prepared in the next week or so. And then those tender documents released. So at least there will be an opportunity for a fall construction, whether there will be contractors available for late fall, early winter construction. That remains to be determined. Otherwise, it would be put over to the spring to try to be completed before the before May 24th and the 2026 cruising season started.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Ashford?
Again, just beating a long dead horse. Is there really no opportunity? I just think with 500,000 from being kind of given to us and 200,000 investment of the Parry Sound taxpayers, and we're really not getting anything more than what we have in a certain sense that as we walk about, and all the ratepayers walk about the world, there's nothing here that's going to change for them for a lot of money in this, and not in the sense that we shouldn't do it, but in the sense that could we not have, put in, like that, it's been, the last 2 summers has been so hot. Everybody's complaining, you can't walk on the dock, it's so hot. You're out there, everybody's sweating, foot traffic's down. Could we have asked for some poles to put some sails up, to take the sun off? Could we something, a little pergola? The DBA is kind of the only ones that have done anything to make much of a change to the dock, to make it more inviting and more enjoyable for locals. Like I'm just thinking there's a lot of money going out, and 20,000 for some poles to put some sails up would maybe go a long way for the community, for people to enjoy. And is there, like, maybe there's absolutely no opportunity for that, and that's not the priority that's been given, but is there any opportunity to do anything more than just kind of repair what we currently have structurally?
My suggestion would be that why don't you bring that forward during the budget? And we can take a look at it. This is a structural repair that we need to do for the future of that dock. I mean, we don't know what's going to be coming in the next 5 years, 10 years, that sort of thing. So this is money I think we have to spend to keep that dock physically, structurally sound. So yeah, Councillor Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to add, it seems some of the other ideas that Councillor Ashford is suggesting, they're nice, they're more cosmetic, they're not structural. And so therefore, I don't think it's priority right now. And number two was also, when you start getting into those ideas, is it possible that you again end up with an engineer's report and determining what is the most appropriate thing? So it seems to me now that things aren't as simple as they first appear, like you no longer, even though we know that's a sign maybe in a spot telling kids to slow down might be a good idea, or we think we are, you just can't go out and put a post up and say, slow down. Like there's always more involved.
Councillor Borneman and then Councillor McCann.
Well, I agree that the money that's on the table tonight is with respect to a structural thing. I wonder if the other, and I appreciate Councillor Ashford's comments, especially about sales and shade and stuff. And I wonder if that might be referred to the Waterfront Committee for their input, recommendation, and have that brought back to council for the budget.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. At least there'd be some conversation around it, but it can come back to the budget. Yeah. Councillor McCann.
From my limited experience with the NOHFC, you can't go to them with a Christmas wish list. You have to have a very specific project. And so I think the money that we're getting from the Federation is, it's a no-brainer. It's specifically mandated to be spent on the structural.
Yeah. That's right.
Structural deficiencies, if you will, on the town dock.
Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Councillor Ashford, would you like to provide some direction possibly about shade or whatever to send it to the waterfront committee for discussion?
Yeah, I suppose, why don't we, waterfront, waterfront plan, master plan, get it, kind of sorted on what's needed, along the waterfront there. I think that would be a wonderful opportunity. To get some,
Okay, Councilor McCann says he's seconding that to go to the waterfront committee. Any discussion? Councilor Keith?
Well, being on the waterfront committee, I think there's always new ideas and that's always great to have discussions, so
Yep.
it doesn't hurt. But I also would say that it was just recently that there was a presentation at the waterfront committee as to what they thought was appropriate on that dock. So, you know, another idea is great, but certainly they did make suggestions that the waterfront committee was supportive of. That was not one of them.
Councilor McCann?
Well, certainly, this summer, I don't know if it's just my eyes, and the fact that I've had cataract surgery or whatnot, but I found the sun very bright, and I think we all found the sun very hot. And I think anything that we can do to add a little bit more opportunity for shade out there on the town dock would be a welcome relief. I mean, we do have the we have the gazebo at the end, which is great. But along the way, it would be nice to have something, and I think the waterfront committee would welcome the opportunity to come up with and explore some ideas.
All in favor of the direction? And that's carried. Okay. Moved by Councilor Borneman, seconded by Councilor McCann, that bylaw number 2025-7528 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the West Parry Sound municipalities for provision of regional economic development services be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councilor McCann, second by Councilor Borneman, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Mr. Harris, do you have anything you want to add to that, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, just for the benefit of members of council and the public. For a number of years, there's been a regional economic development collaborative. All members, all municipalities in West Parry Sound have been members. It was predominantly funded by FedNor. In the last couple of years, FedNor announced that they were no longer going to fund it. Without FedNor funding, some of the area municipalities chose not to continue as part of the collaborative. Parry Sound Council and some of the municipalities believe it's important to take a regional focus to economic development. You know, we're one economic unit. And on that basis, the town has put together a proposal which McDougall and the Archipelago have agreed to support and fund. So this bylaw just executes those agreements with those two municipalities.
And just to be clear too, before I go to questions, those municipalities that left the collaborative took their money with them. So Councilor Keith and then Councilor Borneman.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out, though, the way the MOU is written, if any of those municipalities that have opted out should wish to change their mind, it's written so that they would be able, that agreement would allow them to enter.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councilor Borneman.
Well, I appreciate the work that's gone into this, and I would only say that it's unfortunate that the communities that are hosting the industrial park and the airport have chosen not to participate, because those are areas which would in all likelihood benefit most from these services.
Yep. Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Sign. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2025-7527, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McCann, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled for Tuesday, September 16th at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Seguin Street, entrance via Gibson Street, and it will be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes, and instructions on accessing live streamed and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca and use the search bar. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.